Because, right, like every time you try to read the Old Testament, it starts going on talking about like talking snakes and cosmic floods, and there's giants, and there's all these sex scandals, and there's violence and just random ancient poetry that doesn't make any sense translated into English. And I'm like, what does any of this have to do with what I'm learning about Jesus in the New Testament? Are y'all with me on this? Is this something that we've experienced? And so, right, this is why most people just read the stories that make sense to them, or the ones that seem understandable, and then they check that box off and they call it good and they move on to the next thing. And that was me for a long time as well. But then I had this realization that the Old Testament was Jesus' Bible. Jesus didn't have the New Testament. The Old Testament was his Bible. That's why it mattered so deeply to him. That is where he learned and grew and developed his understanding of who God was the Old Testament. And so from that point on, kind of the driving question for me in my study and what I kind of poured myself into was to learn how to read and understand and see the Hebrew Bible the same way Jesus did. Why is it so confusing to me, but why was it so integrally transformational for Jesus? How did it speak to him? What did it say to him? What did he get out of it? I want to be able to read it and see it the same way Jesus did. And in that vein, I want to be able to read the book of Job and get out of it what Jesus did.